Hello, everyone, and welcome to Entrepreneur Talks podcast. This podcast is created by Women Flix, and my name is Yola Bastos. Welcome to Season 2. We will have new guests with new stories, new visions. Get ready, get inspired. And don't forget, share with your friends and family. If you would like to be our guest, don't hesitate and send us a message on social media, on Instagram or Facebook by Entrepreneur Talks Podcast or Women Flix. Each of our episodes will be information about our guests. You can always get in touch with them if you want. I'm sure that you will enjoy our conversations. Share and follow us on social media, and I speak with you soon. Take care. Bye. My guest for today's podcast is Russel Nohelty. Russel is a USA Today Bestselling author and speaker. He raised over $135,000 on Kickstarter, built a mailing list over 25,000 people, and tabled at more than 100 events since 2016. Now, Russel teach creatives how to lead a complete and successful life through his teaching academy, The Complete Creative. Let's welcome Russel Nohelty. Hello, Russel. Welcome to my podcast. Thank you. You're welcome. No problem. I just heard your voice, but no problem. But I'm so glad that you are here with me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So you're talking from USA, right? More specific from?
Yeah, I am. I'm in Los Angeles, California.
Awesome. Good. How is the weather there?
It's been pretty good. I haven't been able to leave the house very often because of the whole situation that we're going through. But the weather's great in LA. We pay a lot for it, but there's a reason why why I live here. It's because probably like 300 days a year, it's just absolutely beautiful. Another like 40, it's a little bit gloomy, and then 20, it's raining. So pretty much from about May to November, it doesn't rain at all. And then it rains a little bit throughout the winter time. So we're just coming, I guess, off our rainy season right now. But even in the rainy season, it's not very rainy.
Oh, wow. That's a good place for me to think about and jump there, going there like, oh, that's good. I didn't know that it's so sunny there. Oh, amazing. Thank you for letting me know. I didn't have idea. I never been in USA, but one day I will get there. So tell me, I'm going straight to my questions now. And let me ask you, you told me that you raised a lot of money, and then you created a mailing list of over 25,000 people. What have you done to build that mailing list? What exactly, how can it's too many people, Russel?
Sure. So, well, it took about
How long?
3 years to get to 2,000. And
Oh,
then I ballooned it up to about 75,000. And then we cut it back down to about 15,000. And then we usually vacillate somewhere between 20 and 25,000. I cut down a lot every
year.
couple of months, just because there's a lot of bloat on the list. But it generally ends up being about, I think, 15 to 25,000 pretty regular people that read my emails regularly. So it started for me. I do a lot of conventions. I did a lot of conventions since 2015. I've done almost 200 conventions. That could be San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con or book festivals or horror conventions or I did a lot of anime conventions, things like that. So I spend a lot of time talking specifically to my customers and learning a whole lot about them, learning, what they liked from me, why they liked me, why they kept buying from me. And that really helped me solidify the kind of work that I was doing. So the biggest problem that people make when they're building their mailing list is that they don't know who their customer is. And I don't mean like generally, I mean very specifically who they are, the kinds of people that they are, their names, their like what they like about you, what connects them to you across all sorts of platforms, why they resonate with you.
Yeah.
You need to know them as well as you know your best friend or your wife or a husband or mother or anyone, because that is how you're going to be able to scale your mailing list and scale your audience.
Oh, wow.
Similarly, if you don't care about mailing lists, but you really want to grow your Facebook profile, it's very similar. I spent I've been on Facebook since 2007, and it took me until 2017 to grow 1,000 people on my author page. And since 2017, it's now at 14,000. So we've been able to scale it quite a bit. Similarly with my Instagram account, and other accounts. So whether you're talking about mailing lists or social media, it really comes down to knowing the exact human. And that's because, so step one is knowing the exact human. Step two is having a product that you can make for them profitably. And so you really need to know. Business is very little besides the interplay between product and customer. If you have a customer and you have a product that you can sell them, then you can take the profit from that product and use that to market. So whether that is going to conventions in person or advertising on Facebook or Amazon or in newspapers or on billboards or whatever your plan is to do advertising, you have to be able to know your customer and what they want, so you can make products for them. You can create lead magnets for them to bring them into your universe. You can have them resonate out and start talking about you with other people, so that you start getting word of mouth, and you start getting that word of mouth is like the best advertising you can do, but it really only comes if you're giving people exactly what they want. So I've been able to scale quite well because I am making something that is profitable. I have customers that I can find for a low acquisition cost that have a high lifetime value. And then I take a lot of that excess money and I use it in advertising and marketing and other things so that I can find more people like them. And so I say that again?
Fantastic. But I'm just intrigued with the 25,000 people. How do you get to know each of them? Because it's a lot of people, right, Russell? And you probably manage your mailing list with some categories or how do you do this? Because it's a lot of people. When you said that is one of the fundamental things to get your mailing list working and get to know your people, get to know what they want from you, and one of the things is get to know them. And how I get to know 25,000 people like my mom, my friend. It's quite hard. I don't.
Well, it's not. So at some point you're going to scale, and then you're not going to be able to know every single person
No.
that is in your audience. That's why it's so important to do it when you have very few people on your mailing list and very few people who are buying from you. So once you have a customer avatar that is rock solid and you're making products that are profitable, that is when you start scaling, and then you don't have as much intimate connection with your audience. However, I still try to reach out once a week or once a month to certain fans that I have, to specific email addresses, asking them questions. And I still try to get to know some of them sort of randomly as they are buying our products. Now, here's one way that you really start understanding your customer is when you're launching a big product. A certain percentage of those people who are in your audience are going to buy your product. So, for instance, our last product was a book called Cthulhu is Hard to Spell, The Terrible Twos. Of that 25,000 person audience, 700 people bought the book at launch. So it's a lot easier to get to know 700 people than it is to get to know 25,000 people. So the process that I use is sort of, I spend a third of my time managing my mailing list, a third growing my mailing list, and then a third burning through my mailing list at launching a product. So basically 4 times a year I launch a product.
Okay.
And when I'm launching a product, I'm emailing those people in my audience a lot. Like I think in 24 days I sent 40 emails to that mailing list. So a lot of people unsubscribe from that. But from that, a lot of people also buy product. Okay. And so that's my burn period. And then I kind of nurture them for the next month. I do some free giveaways for them. I I try to be very concerned with letting them know that they're more than just a $20 bill. So that's the nurture period. And then I do a lot of promotion in that third month, which is I'll run a big promotion, maybe a big free giveaway or something else that I'm trying to attract more people. So it's sort of this living, breathing organism that I'm trying to manage. And then every time I launch a product, my goal is that more and more people are return customers, because that's how you grow a business. So my first thing I ever launched, there were no repeat customers. Our last book that we launched, there were almost 500 repeat customers who had bought from us before. So every time it grows a little bit more, and that repeat customer base are really the people that I'm trying to keep happy. It's less the people that are just on my list. Those people I'm trying to get to move from knowing me to liking me to trusting me to buying from me in my sales funnel. But the people that are the buyers and the rebuyers especially are the ones that I'm most concerned with.
Okay, that's great. I'm learning a lot here. That's really good. Thank you. Wow. This is a big, mailing list, but it has so many ways that we need to work on, right?
Well, the thing is that a sales funnel is a function of the amount of people who are at the top and the percentage that meet the bottom. So on a pretty good, like not great, but good email list, about 1% to 2% of people are going to be buyers.
Okay, great.
So it gets less if you're doing a lot of inorganic versus organic, or like how big you're growing and how fast you're growing. But the general function is you really want to, so after you have the product and the customer, your goal is to create a system that takes someone who you don't know and turns them into a buyer. So that is your email sequence, or I like the email sequence because every time you put someone in the email sequence, you can send them a autoresponder that presents you to them in the most appealing way possible. So I end up so I have an autoresponder sequence and other systems in place that move somebody from knowing me to liking me to trusting me to buying from me. And at every stage, certain people, a lot of people are going to burn away and burn off, and they're not going to become fans. But some of them will remain at the bottom. So I liken this to, we all have that uncle who we know but don't like, that cousin we like but don't trust, that friend that we trust, but like their tastes aren't the same as yours. You give them $20 for pizza and they always bring anchovies and you like pepperoni. But then we have that best friend who, like, if you give them $20, they're going to come back with the exact right pizza. They're going to come back with they have exactly your taste.
Right, I got it. Yeah.
And your job is to try and find, and so that is the sales funnel. You're trying to weed out the people that know you but don't like you but don't trust you and don't buy from you. So by knowing that your customer really well, you're able to overcome all of the challenges that and give them information that they need to become a trusted, valued customer of yours.
Powerful.
And that's sort of and then once you have that system in place where someone is moving from not knowing you to liking you to trusting you to buying from you to buying from you again, then all it is going to places where people are. So different Facebook groups, running different promotions, whatever it is, to find those people who are likely to be to like your work, and then throwing them all into the top of your funnel, and then some percentage of them
they will buy from you.
Exactly. And somewhere in that list of is every problem that a business faces. People that say, I don't know what to make for my customer, don't know their customer well enough. People that don't have any profit. People that don't have any profit in their business are not making the right product or not making a product that's profitable enough. If they're finding a lot of people but not getting a lot of sales, it's because they're not going to the right places, or they haven't set up the sales funnel properly. And then if they've set up the sales funnel properly, but they just don't have a lot of people in it, then the final step is that you have to scale. But you don't need to scale until you have those first 3 sections in place. And like I said, it took me 3 years to get to 2,000 people on my mailing list. And then we started scaling really well after that.
Wow. And then from all your journey and your experience, you created the Complete Creative, right? The Academy.
Absolutely. It's an academy, it's a podcast, it's a blog. So the goal is to help creatives make the best work of their life and share it with the world.
That's amazing. And where it comes, you teach about, what do you teach there?
So we have 3 main sections of our website. The first is about mindset. The second is about creating, and the third is about sales. Every course, my most popular course is called Build a Rabid Fan Base. It's about it's the process that we just talked about. How to make the perfect customer, how to find a product that'll sell, and then how to scale. That's all it's about. I have a Facebook ads course. I have 2 Kickstarter courses. We have a mailing list marketing funnel course, and a novel course, and a couple of others. I have a couple of audiobooks, and I think that's there's about 9 things on there. But by far the most popular one, the most popular ones are a tie between our Build a Rabid Fan Base course, which only opens twice a year, and our Write a Great Novel course.
Really?
Which is and the Write a Great Novel course is free, because the first step before all of those things happen, where like you're finding the perfect customer and all of that stuff, you've got to know how to make something great. That is the first step. And it is sort of away from all of the other things, because while you're making something great or starting your career or learning how to sort of, make a thing and playing with it, that you need a safe place to fail, find your voice, and do so. Like, it should be separated from the building of a business part of it. You need to be able to play and fail and try things, and that is where school is really effective, because they're kind of giving you a safe space to like find yourself, find your voice, and have mentorships and all of that stuff. So the first stage of it really is about like taking a master class in what you want to make. And then once you know what you want to make, or you're good at making stuff that is great, that is saleable, that is at the scale of anything else that's on the market, that is when you can start building an audience and such.
That's really good. So it's for free. The first one is for free and it's on your website.
Yeah, that's at thecompletecreative.com/novel.
Oh, okay. I will have all your details about these things that you just said. So I will make sure it's all on the description of the podcast. But this is such an amazing, while I was hearing you, and I also do my business, I run my business, and I was like, wow, I think I need to go on your website, and I will have a look to this one that is the free. It's not like I don't have the business, like you said. It's something that you need to do apart from your business. So I will have a look, and I might gonna join you on the course. So to see if I'm doing the right things. And I'm so surprised. There's so many things that involves in our journey with our business, whatever we want to do. We need to make sure we're doing right. And that's my question for me today. I will check and I might join you. Yeah, like I said.
Awesome. Well, there is a free version of my Build a Rabid Fan Base course, because it's not open, but it is opening quite soon. You can go to thecompletecreative.com/audience, and you can find a 20-minute webinar that kind of breaks down this concept in as easy to understand a way as I have ever seen. But I think that a lot of people overthink what needs to be done in a business. I think that's partially because a lot of consultants make a lot of money helping confused people make sense of it all.
Yes.
But it really comes down to two things. Like, it comes down to the audience or customers that you have and the product you are making. And if you can get that working, if you can find that balance where you're able to find people and then make something that has a profit margin, a good profit margin, then you can take that extra profit margin, keep some of it for yourself, keep 10% for yourself, and use the rest of it as operating expenses and marketing expenses, and then you can start scaling. Every time I've ever talked to somebody and they were concerned about marketing, it's almost always because their products are not profitable, and so what's happening is they're losing money when they're investing in their by investing in their business, they're losing money every dollar. And that's happened to me too. There was a time in my business for about 6 months at the beginning of 2016 where we were killing it. Like, we were selling a lot of books, but for every dollar we made, I was spending $2. And I looked at my numbers at around May or June of that year, and I was like, Karen, I'm literally successing my way to poverty. If we make $50,000 this year, I'm going to have to spend $100,000 to do it. And we had to rethink our whole business, and I had to rethink everything that I was doing, so that when I was spending $1, I was making $2. And once that happened, and I had a repeatable system for that, I was able to basically, it freed me up so much to know, okay, I have to go to these conventions, I have to do these things, and like, if I spend $1,000, I'll make $2,000. And once you have that going, your goal is just to do as many of them as possible. Your goal is like, okay, how can I spend $10,000 to make $20,000? How can I spend $50,000 to make $100,000? So those, that is really the thing that needs to work before anything else works is, and it could be advertising. You could be looking for advertising, and then it's a little bit different model. But for me, most of my clients and most of my customers have product-based businesses, not service-based businesses. So there has to be something that you are, but regardless, there has to be something you are selling to a customer that gives you a profit margin that you can then spend on marketing and
then carry on improving and getting more profit.
Absolutely. I have I have a story for that. So my first product was called Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter. We brought it to Kickstarter in 2014, and it raised $5,500, which was good. It's great. It was my first time that I ever made money in 10 years trying businesses. It's the first time I ever made money. It made more money than all of my businesses before. So I was thrilled. The next time I brought a book to Kickstarter, it was Katrina Hates the Dead. It was another comic book about monsters, post-apocalyptic, in comic form. And so it was very much in line with what my customers wanted, but I did not know that. I did not know that terminology yet. All I knew is that the first one made $5,500, the second one made $8,700. So that was good. Like that actually cleared the debt for Katrina Katrina is hard to spell. Katrina Hates the Dead. And I was in profit on that book. But then we had the sort of trough of sorrow area. The next book I put out was called My Father Didn't Kill Himself. It was a mystery novel. It raised $3,500. So it wasn't a comic. It wasn't about monsters. It wasn't fantasy. The next book was a kid's book called I Can't Stop Tooting a Love Story. It did even worse, $2,200. So I'm going the wrong way here. And the next one raised $1,800. It was a sci-fi novel. And so all three of those products raised less than Katrina Hates the Dead. I spent a year making basically less than I had made the year before in one product launch. Meanwhile, I was buying stuff for $1 and for $2 and only making $1 from it. So I was in a really bad shape. But then luckily, I kind of knew what I was doing at that time. I was reading a lot of blogs and listening to podcasts and reading a lot of books. So I kind of knew that and even then, even without that, I knew intrinsically, like you're supposed to make more money each product, not less, right? So I started asking my customers, what do they want from me? Like, what do they like about my work? Why did this? Some of them did buy the novel, and I asked them why they bought it. And they kind of became the seed of like my audience, my perfect customer avatar, because the person that likes both the comics and the novel, like kind of likes me. And then, but I asked them what they wanted, and they were like, I want you to do more monster comics. I want you to do comics. I want you to do X, Y. And I didn't have any money. So what I did was I created an anthology, which had 30 stories from 50 creators, all that had like these little audiences that had monsters in them. So all of my friends were like indie creators. They all had like their little pocket of like monster fandom people. So I brought them all together. We did an anthology called Monsters and Other Scary Shit. And it raised $27,000, literally making more than all of my other books combined up until that point. So, and that just came from talking to my audience and then having an audience. Like I had an audience, right? Like I had built a little audience, but I was not giving them the products that they wanted. And so I was growing my audience, but I wasn't delivering the products that I had promised from my original products. Yeah. So now I was doing that, and that product raised $27,000 at launch. Then we did a comic book called Pixie Dust that raised $25,000 at launch. Then I asked people what they liked about the first anthology and what they didn't like about the first anthology, and we did a book called Cthulhu is Hard to Spell, and it raised $39,000 at launch. Wow. So again, once I was able to understand that customer, product, and what they wanted and how to make it profitably, then I was able to go to more shows. I was able to do more marketing. I was able to find more fans, and I was delivering them the thing that they wanted. And so my company was getting bigger and bigger, and more people were buying more products from me.
That's amazing. So, wow. And you keep growing, because now you know the key. So
absolutely. And like that, you said the key. And I think that is, That's the secret. The minute that you can put $1 into your company reliably and make $2 from your company, then suddenly you're like, well, what if I spend $50,000? I'll make $100,000. What if I spend? But most people do not have that
money,
that ability to put $1 in and get $2 out, either because they don't know the customer, they don't have a product that fits, or they don't have a system for finding new customers and then making them fans.
Yeah, when I said I was about to say they don't have money, but they don't have the mindset, right?
I mean, I didn't have the money either, so.
But because you found the mindset and you focus on that. Because I think
what happened was, so I had a budget to make these 2 comic books, and I ran through all of it. So by the time we started the company, I had maybe $5,000 total between everything to mine and my wife's name. And we had just bought a house. Like, it was not going super it was not going super well for us. We were not making any money. But what happened was I was able to put a product on Kickstarter and it was able to fund itself. And then I was like, oh, that's something. And then I started doing conventions, and I would spend like $100 at a convention and I would make $300. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And then I put another product out and it did well enough for me to have like a buffer. I had a buffer suddenly. Now I was still working at the time, but working in sales, and basically that extra money also became marketing money. But I don't think I could have kept doing it if I wasn't like doing it successfully. So every time I did a show, I made money. Every time I did X thing, I made money. And then it just became about figuring out how to
get there.
And how to make $2 out of $1 instead of making $1 out of $2. And so all of the whole 2016 of my was all about like, I know that it's working. Like people are liking the books, they're buying the books. Like I know this is a process that like works. I'm watching it work. Yeah. I just have to figure out how to make it profitable. And then once I was able to make it profitable, I started to like have massive growth, because now my earning potential was almost unlimited. Yeah.
The promotion as well, to keep promoting yourself, appearing in events and everything, and find the way.
It made it possible to know where to put my my system. And it's the same with my podcast and my training academy. Like, I know that if I go on podcasts and other shows, eventually some of those people will funnel back to the Complete Creative, and some of those people will become customers, and some of them will become fans, and some of them will tell other people, and some of them will listen to my show as well as your show. And so, you know, I don't go on knitting shows. I don't go on shows about like comedy or football, because that's not a good use of my time. But coming on a show like your show or other entrepreneurship shows or other creativity shows is a place that I know is a valuable use of my time, because there's an audience there I want to find and talk to.
Yeah, fantastic. Yes, that's so true. So, Russel, Kickstarter is like Amazon? It's a place.
So Kickstarter is a platform that allows you to fund, basically do pre-orders for an idea. So it's not like Amazon, because the products aren't done yet, but it is on Amazon in that it's product-based. So there are different kinds of people. There are early adopters. They're sort of like the people that are always on to the next big thing. They are sort of the middle of the road people, and then there are late adopters. The middle of the road people are pretty much on Amazon. A lot of they're looking for the product that's already been successful. They're not looking for like the new hip thing. Kickstarter is for really early adopters, people that like are really committed to helping people fund ideas and cool ideas. So you're not going to make quite as much money as you will on Amazon, and it's time bound, so you only have up to 60 days, but most are 30 days. But Kickstarter is a great way to test out an idea and see if it has legs before you bring it to market, to try and get that initial funding for something. I've run 11 projects on there, and I love it. I've raised over $170,000 on Kickstarter for publishing projects.
Yeah, because you always talk about this quick starter, and I've done this and I've done that. I'm like, that's amazing. That's really good. And for sure, you found clients there as well. Yeah, you get clients.
Absolutely. I mean, I went through my system the other day, and I believe I've had over 3,000 backers through Kickstarter, over 11 projects. So, I mean, it's a great way for me as a person who mostly does comics and publishing to find new fans. And it tells me if a book even deserves to be made or if there's an audience there. And I'm able to do it now with very little marketing dollars. In fact, we just did a Kickstarter and it raised $31,000, and I spent $0 on marketing.
Wow, that's amazing.
I spent more in the past on a couple of my projects. I spent like $500 or $1,000, but generally I spend very little on marketing. It's all word of mouth. It's all like connections and collaborations that I do. So Kickstarter I have found is a great way to be able to test out an idea, and we use Kickstarter to basically break even on profit for a book. So our books tend to cost about $25,000 to $30,000 to make and ship out the initial order, and then we use whatever the remainder of that is to go to shows and sell online. So that's sort of our model, is we're trying to break even on Kickstarter with the production costs, and then we bring it to market.
Awesome. How many people work with you, like on your team? Do you have a team, right?
I have a distributed workforce that comes together on a project by project basis. So I am the only full-time employee of my company, but depending on the project, there might be 5, 10, 70 creators who are working on it. I also freelance out editors, and I do a lot on my own website and other stuff. I've gone through assistants a lot trying to find one, and I think I'm just cursed because they always tend to get sick when they start working for me, even though they're not, even though they don't work anywhere near me. They're all across the country. But I am the only full-time employee, and then I have contractors, and we generally, how it generally works is I will put out a request for proposal or request for submissions, and then we will work together on one project. I bring on an editor, I bring on the team, and then after that project, they disperse, and then I do it again with different projects.
Wow, I'm so impressed by yourself. You do all this stuff. Well done, Russel. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah,
and you know what? Because you said people get sick like when they start to work with you. I think they can't handle. They just see, whoa, I can't get into his speed, because you are master on whatever you're doing right now with your business in your life.
One of the things that I really do a lot is I teach about productivity and how to become more productive, how to like 10x your productivity. But I do want to make it clear that like I do this with books, but you can do this with info products or a whole bunch of other stuff. So last weekend, this would be the 18th and 19th of April as we're recording this, I ran a virtual summit, and I brought together 25 creators to talk on the panel. Me and a co-host founded this online writers conference. We brought together all sorts of really amazing experts, USA Today Bestselling authors, New York Times bestselling authors, some of like the biggest authors on the planet, and subject matter experts as well. And we were able to, with literally no advertising budget, get a mailing list of 800 people together, just from that sort of project-based virtual summit. And what happened is, and it cost us, I think it cost us less than $200 total, so less than $100 each. and we were able to run this very high quality virtual summit live over the last 2 days with over 13 hours of content that had an average of 100 people watching every hour. So just because like I do it with books, but I also use the same philosophy of the distributed workforce coming together on a project by project basis when I run virtual summits or my podcast or pretty much anything else.
That's the key. Like I said before, I got it now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. So tell me, how can people find more about you and get in touch, like connect with you?
So if you're a creator yourself or an entrepreneur yourself, then the best way to go is The Complete Creative. I have 3 free courses. One is a Kickstarter course. If you want to learn more about Kickstarter, that's at thecompletecreative.com/FKC for free Kickstarter course. I have a free business course where I talk about the 10 pillars of business that I have found over my career. It's all email based over 10 days. That one is at thecompletecreative.com/FBC for a free business course. And then if you're interested in running and learning, building an audience from scratch, I have a free webinar all about that at thecompletecreative.com/audience. And that will take you through kind of everything we talked about today. And you can get on the mailing list for when my Build a Rabid fan base course opens, which should be happening very, very soon.
Fabulous. Russell, I would like to ask you, so you can pass me this information about your free courses, and I will be placing all these social media and freebies on my podcast so people can just get straight to you. Is that right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. All right. So we came to the end. This is it. I'm so glad that I had this podcast with you. And I'm sure that my listeners, like you said, they will come. They will click on your links because this is amazing. The information that you gave us here today is just it's gold. It's gold for our.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, Russell. I wish you all the best, and I'm sure I will keep in touch with you, and I will keep following all your journey. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is the end of our session, and I just want to say thank you so much for being with us. I hope that you enjoy. And if you would like to listen again, make sure you follow us on social media. Each session will be always on our pages. And also on our profile, you will get access to a link which will take you to Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, or other platforms where you can listen podcast sessions. Thank you once again, and I speak with you very soon. I see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.